Jen from Fabulous Paper Emporium. I'm so excited to be here today because we are going to put together a folio, specifically a trifold folio. So with the trifold, it's pretty much exactly what you think it is, where there are 3 sections, 1, 2, 3. And it can be used for journaling. You can use it for a photo album. There's so many uses for this. So this is just one base that I kind of put together just to give you an idea. And we're going to be decorating it together, but I also did want to go through the steps to create this because it really is simple. And I know at first I was a little bit intimidated, I guess, by making a folio or by making albums, but with some chipboard and some cardstock, it is so simple and you can tailor it to any like or design that you like, or that your intended recipient will like. So the options are really endless with this. So we're going to get started. We're going to make the base first, and then the paper that I'm going to be using to decorate it today is Silent Night by Echo Park. It is absolutely stunning. I'm using the 12 by 12 today, and all in all, I pretty much used just about everything. There are a couple of sheets left over, and of course the sticker pack, but after that, we're pretty much done with the collection kit. So I'm going to set that aside because we are going to need a little bit of space. I will go through right now these pieces, but as we go through the decorating part of the video, then I'm going to link everything is going to be in the description below, all the details, each section, and the pieces that were used, everything. So I know it's a little bit different than what we normally do. So for the bottom or the base, the actual folio part, you're going to need 2 sheets that are 12 by 12. And you're going to need also these 2 sheets of paper, which are slightly smaller. And these ones are cut at 3 inches by 9.5. And then we have some chipboard. So this is medium weight. It's 0.05, I believe. And I think that goes towards the inches, I think. I'm not entirely sure. But it is very sturdy. So once you put together your folio, there's no chance that it's ever going to fall apart. So we have 3 pieces that are cut at 6 by 10. And then we have 2 pieces. These are going to be our spines. And these are cut at 1 by 10. So if I open this, so these little pieces will actually be the spine here and the spine here because it's a trifold. We've got 2 of them. All right, so I'm going to set that aside and we are going to start making. All right, so I'm going to put the the chipboard aside. I'm putting those 2 pieces aside for right now because the first thing we need to do is we actually need to connect our 2 pieces of 12 by 12. So I'm going to do that. I've got some scor tape that is already down. And I'm trying to lift it up, of course, and it's being difficult. So take that off. There we go. And then you're going to do your best. Because this is solid paper, I wouldn't worry. Don't stress out too much if it's just a little bit off of alignment, but do your best to make sure that you have these pieces aligned. I am going to stand because just the vantage point that I have is not exactly the greatest for lining things up. So you want to make sure the top and the bottom are even. Well, geez, I am having some difficulties today. There we go. Okay, perfect. Oh, well, kind of perfect. There we go. So we're going to really push down that edge. I apologize if I was yelling into the camera. My face was a little bit closer than it normally is. And then what I'm going to do next is we're going to kind of lay out our chipboard. So we've got 3 pieces of chipboard, and in between each of the larger, the 6 by 10, you're going to place your spines. And then the last piece will go like that. So you're just going to try and place it as centered as you possibly can, giving yourself about an inch at the top and the bottom. Don't worry about the sides. Again, like all of this is going to get covered. Once it gets folded over, you're all good. It all gets covered up anyway. So if it's not exact, I wouldn't stress about it too much. And then we're going to use my little secret. So we're going to start off by applying some of the score tape to the chipboard, and we're going to use a combination today of score tape as well as glue, liquid glue. I just find that it just makes it, your folio is going to last forever this way. So I think I've used score tape before, perhaps in one other video, but the score tape is amazing. You can just, you know, place your finger where you want to tear it off, and away you go. So we are going to, I'm going to fast forward because I'm sure you don't really need to be watching me place all kinds of score tape on each of these pieces, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how I place the score tape. I do go as close to the edge as possible, but again, we're going to be applying liquid glue as well. So each one of your 6x10 should be, should have tape around the perimeter. I do one down the middle just cause. And then for the, train. And then for the smaller ones that are the 1x10, I'm just going to use the 1/4 inch tape. The other tape that I was using just now is 1/2 inch, I do believe. Yeah, this one is 1/2 inch. This one is 1/4 inch. You can see the difference. And then I've also got 5/8, and this one is 1/8. And this comes in real handy in a couple of seconds. Well, not a couple of seconds, but maybe a couple of seconds in video time, because I will be fast forwarding as I get all of my score tape on, and I will catch up with you in just a bit. Okay, welcome back. All right, so now that we have our placement, we've got a rough idea of where things are going to go, we are going to start adhering things down. So I generally move from left to right. You can do it however you want. I've also done it where I put down the first one and then, or the middle one, and then moved outwards. Ultimately, everything is going to get pushed down, or placed and glued, so it doesn't really matter where you start. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove easier said than done, remove the backing from the score tape. There we go. And then we're going to be applying our liquid glue all the way around on top of the score tape, and this will just again give us some time to place it the way we want it placed. So if there's a little bit of finessing that needs to happen, then we're good to go. So I'm just going to apply liquid glue all over the tape. Could have taken the fine tip off, but of course I didn't, so there we go. Down the middle, you definitely want to make sure that you got the corners and the sides all nicely glued up. And then we are going to place this. It's pretty much centered as much as I can with my eyes, and then we're going to really push that down, spreading the glue all around. Don't worry if you have anything that seeps out, that is totally fine. That will again not be on the outside, so we don't really have to worry about that too much. The next thing, and this is the thing I wanted to just kind of go over everybody with, or go over with, is you want to add about 1/8 of an inch space between, oops, I put that down a little bit farther than I had intended. You want 1/8 of an inch in between your chipboard pieces. And you don't necessarily need to use this. This is 1/8, and it's going to add a little bit more stability to your folio. So it really does work quite well. I find it better than trying to take something and, place it in between, because I've only got 2 hands, so that doesn't really work very well for me. But I find like using the 1/8 tape, I don't usually use a lot of the 1/8 because it's so thin. 1/4 inch is generally where, what I'm using for card making, that kind of thing. But as far as folios, the 1/8 does come in handy. So again, we're gonna, on our first spine piece, we are just going to go over both of the scor tape, a little bit down the middle. I've got my sides and my edges done. And then we're going to leave the scor tape down because we're not actually putting this on the scor tape. And then, kind of hard to see from a seated position, but I think I've got that pretty much level with the top and the bottom. Again, we don't worry about the glue coming out. So this is how I'm going to go from left to right. Is the next thing I'm going to do is put down my 1/8 scor tape, like so. Perfect. And then I'm going to go ahead and adhere this middle panel, the next spine, and then my right side panel, and then we're going to be ready to go on to the next step. So again, I'm going to just quickly fast forward, and I will see you in a little bit. Alrighty. Okay, so we are done with the placement, and this is what you should end up with. We are going to apply a little bit more scor tape, and we're going to go all the way around the outside. It's not required, certainly, but I just feel like that gives me just a little bit of extra security as far as the the word's not coming to me, the assembly of your folio. So, and especially on the outside, you are definitely wanting that to be very secure because you are attaching everything else to the outside. So we definitely want that to be nice and secure. So as you can see, I'm running another 1/8 bit of tape, and I'm going to do that around the entire perimeter. And we are going to go through the bending and folding and gluing and cutting. There's a little bit of cutting that we're going to be needing to do on the corners, and that's just to ensure that there isn't a lot of bulk when you go to fold your corners. And that doesn't really need to be from end to end, but I do like having it there. And the last one is on this side. Perfect. Okay, so we're done with the 1/8 for right now. We're going to get out our scissors, and you're going to want to, you can measure with your ruler first, and I will get out a pencil that I thought I had. Oh, there it is. So you are going to, Either you can eyeball it and just cut it without measuring, or you can measure 1/8. So on this ruler, that would be this little guy right here. Nope, that would be this one. I'm looking at the ruler in the weirdest way. Okay, there we go. So if we just put a little mark there, we're measuring 1/8 from the tip of the chipboard. So I've made a little mark, and now all I'm going to do is I'm going to make a line, just a pencil mark, and that's where I'm going to be cutting from. So if you want to, you can do that on all 4 corners, because we're going to be cutting off or trimming a little bit of that excess to reduce the bulk that we have when we go to fold. I'm just going to eyeball the rest of them, but here we go. So basically, you're going to take that and you're going to cut off the corner. Okay, and you're going to repeat that all the way around. Oops. And get rid of those little corners. I apologize if you can't see this side. I've got limited amount of space that I'm working with here, so it becomes a little bit of a challenge sometimes when you're working with the bigger pieces, but that's okay. We're almost done. All right, so now you're going to have corners that are like so, and some may be a little bit steeper, but again, don't worry about it. It's all getting folded over. This part does not have to look perfect. You really want this part to really look nice, and as far as I can tell, it is looking beautiful. All right, so we're going to start with our length, the length of the folio first. Put my scissors away. What we're going to do first, before we start any gluing or removing the tape, is we're going to burnish in a way this edge. And the reason why you're doing that is just to get those fibers kind of moving in the direction that you want. You don't want to have to do this if you've got glue all in the inside, then you get it all over your hands, it gets all over your folio, it becomes a hot mess, because all of this is going to end up folding over, and then in on the sides as well. So now that we've kind of got that all in motion, I'm going to take off the scor tape along the edge. I'm going to take my glue. I'm going to run some glue, oh, geez, along the edge of that chipboard where the chipboard ends. I'm going to come up on either side, go across the top as best you can. Again, we're not going to worry about any glue seepage or anything like that. Go back and do a squiggly because it's just going to add. All right, and then as we go over, we're working that with our hands, our fingers are getting the paper to work over the chipboard, and it will glue down. Don't worry if it starts popping back up. As we go back, it's going to start sticking. You do have to work maybe a little bit quickly because you don't want your glue to then dry, but as you can see, we've got that all down. I'm going to take my bone folder and lay it on its side and just kind of really get it down there, get the glue. You're going to have some come out. Just make sure you wipe that off your bone folder and really get that, go from the edge, pushing upwards, and ta-da, there we go. We've got our first edge down. You know, again, the glue I wouldn't worry too much about because we're going to be placing some beautiful cardstock on top of that. It's not even going to be noticeable. So we're going to flip our folio around. Whoopsie. As I tear off the tape as well. Here, we don't want that. There. Okay, so we're going to do the exact same thing here. And as I go to apply my glue, I realize I've not even tried to burnish these edges. You still can do it. It's just going to be a little bit more of a sticky situation. So I do that, and then I'm going to run my glue all along the border, down, up the sides, across the top, and through the middle. And we're done on this side, so then we can start. Again, I like starting in the middle. It just, I don't know, makes sense to me, I guess. It's just the way I have always done these. And you can, I suppose, start. I just feel like in the middle, you start in the middle and then you work your way out, and I have the least amount of problems that way. It's not like you're going to get like a big bubble at the end. Okay, we're going to get our bone folder out again, making sure that if you get any glue on it, you want to get rid of that right away so you don't constantly have this big bubble of glue on there. And we're done with both lengths. So the next thing that we're going to tackle is we're going to tackle the sides, and we're going to do the same thing here. So we're going to take that. It's a little bit easier to work these sides though. But what you'll notice as soon as you start folding it, you get these weird points. And that's why we are going to, as we take off our scor tape, the top layer, we're just going to push that in a little bit. You can use your bone folder if you want to get this point kind of tucked in, because you don't want it super sharp point at the ends, because then it really is, it can catch, it's going to tear, you're going to have all kinds of interesting things happen there. So we're going to do that to both sides. All right, tuck those in, and then we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to apply our glue right along the edge of the chipboard, up the side, across the top, and down, and then a little squiggle down the middle. Okay, and then as we go to fold, I'm just making sure that, again, everything is nice and tight. Whoops, I got some glue on my fingers. The corners are nicely mitered. Had a little bit of extra glue seepage there. Not to worry. And then I'm going to take my bone folder, run that across. Again, the same thing here, being very careful because that's where the glue came out the last time. Excellent. And then we're going to flip it around and do the same thing on the very last. See, it really isn't that difficult. You just have to take your time, go step by step, stop forgetting to burnish your edges like I am. Apparently talking and doing are a little bit more challenging for me today, so I apologize. But we're going to get that corner in, get it all tucked in there nicely. Perfect. And this one as well, and then we can go, got our sides nicely burnished. We're going to add our glue, and then we are done with the basic creation of the folio. We're going to do some fine work on the inside just to finish that off and get the insides ready for decoration. I'm so looking forward to using this paper. It was, I've had it in the store for a little bit, and it was just one of those things that, you know, I kind of been putting it off a little bit, just waiting for kind of the right project. And I love the idea of this. I haven't seen it obviously come together, but in my brain, in my head, in my mind's eye, it looks beautiful, and I'm sure it will be. So now the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to be covering the two spines from the inside, and that's where these pieces of paper or pieces of cardstock come in. We're just going to do a quick cover over those. And once, there's two ways that you can do this. I've seen, and I've done both, and they're both equally as fine. One is that you're scoring this before you apply it on. The thing with that is you have to be pretty precise. Otherwise your score marks are not going to land where these, where we use the 1/8 tape to measure out. So to do that, I prefer to lay it down and then use my bone folder to score. It's entirely up to you. You can do it either way. I would encourage you to try it both ways and see what works for you. And if your precision is on point, then, you know, perhaps you would prefer to do the score method. I score before you glue, I guess. You're just trying to get that as centered as possible. Got lots of glue on the edges. It's not gonna matter. There we go. So make sure that that's all down nice and securely. Same thing here. And then we're going to go across. I get my ruler out because this is going to, you know, certainly make sure that I am on point when it comes to my score line. You don't have to press overly hard. The idea is not to go through the paper. We just want to, again, encourage the paper. We're telling the paper how we want it to fold, and this way we don't have any kind of issues. And there we go. So that is folding nicely on that line, and then I just got to find my other line. Normally I probably would stand up, but I would get my head on the camera, and I don't want to do that. Okay, so here we go with this one. And again, we just, if it takes a few passes, it takes a few passes. It's, you know, not something that you can really rush, and you don't want to rush it because, you know, then you end up with holes in your paper. There we go. So that is nicely folded, and we're just going to do the same thing to this side. Okay, so there we go. We have our Trifold Folio base done. You can fold it either way. I guess that makes more sense. And now we get to do some wonderful decorating. And I will go through some of the steps with regards to what we're doing on the inside. So the insides are very interesting. Okay, so there we go. We have our insides. Inside is done. And here we go. This is what we're left with. So this is the shell, if you will, of your folio. This beautiful blue paper. Trifold. So now we are getting ready to decorate on the inside. So for the inside, I have chosen this beautiful angel paper, and we are going to be laying that down on each panel like that. And then to cover up the spines a bit, we are going to, excuse me, now I've got the hiccups. I've taken one of the other papers and I've just used some of the just white cardstock. I've matted it. Everything has been inked. I inked all of the edges for everything, even the white paper in this project, just because the white seemed like so stark against everything else that I wanted to give it just a little bit more of, I guess, like an antique-y vintage kind of feel. So of course I've used my vintage photo from Tim Holtz. I'm looking for it right now. Oh, there we go. My little itty bitty distressed ink vintage photo. It's my go-to. I think it's a lot of people's go-to. It goes with everything. It just goes with everything. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do either ends. I'm going to leave the middle for right now because there is something special that I've got in mind for that. So gluing down these pages is much like gluing down the layers of your card, and you're going to apply some glue all the way around the outside. I am going to be a little bit more careful because, you know, it's not like we've got, it does dry clear, so it's, you know, not the end of the world if some seeps out, but I'm going to try my hardest to keep it nice and neat and tidy. And I'm going to leave that there just to give me an idea. Using the darker paper, sometimes the score lines, the folds for where your spine is, sometimes can get lost. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, this angel paper is so stunning. Absolutely loved it. I love it. I don't loved it. I do love it. And then I'm going to add glue to the top piece of my spine. I do have a second one cut out already. And again, as I said before, everything, all sides have been inked. Whether it was the designer paper, oops, didn't pull that down far enough. Whether it was a designer paper, the white paper, the only thing that I didn't bother using the ink on was the blue paper. So any of the blue I've not bothered doing. It's blue, it's solid all the way through. So I knew I wasn't going to have any kind of white lines where I didn't want them. So that has worked out rather nicely. There's a lot of pieces in this, but I rest assured it is going to look stunning. It would be amazing as a gift for somebody that they could use for, like I said, a journal, something that they could put pictures in. I know that doesn't really happen very much right now, or nowadays I should say, but there's something to be said about a nice photo album. You know, especially if it's got little notes in it too. You can, you know, certainly do a combination of a journal as well as photos, and it just a lovely keepsake for, you know, those special occasions. And certainly Christmas is one of those times. So like I said before, everything over here gets covered nicely, so you don't have to worry if, you know, the blue is a little bit off on one side, it didn't really match up, then it all gets covered in the long run and nobody's gonna know. It'll be your secret. So my last spine is going to be put together here, and then we're going to work on decorating the inside and doing some wonderful things. So Waterfalls is one of those things that I just love. I think it looks stunning in an album, in a folio. We did an explosion box last week, I think, and that had a waterfall inside. Oops, let's move that over a little bit. See, the beauty of liquid glue is it is workable. So yes, so we did a waterfall on inside the explosion box, which was probably one of the first times that I had done that. So that worked out pretty well. I liked it anyways. There's obviously a limited amount of space when you're working on an explosion box. And then, oh, I did not have a steady hand putting that down. That is for sure. There we go. Okay, so our second spine is done. So we're going to be working on these two panels right now. I'm not putting anything in the middle because, again, I want to, I've got something set up for that. So we are going to be working on our waterfalls right now. And so our waterfalls, I've used the journaling cards. There's two sets of journaling cards, actually 3 sets if I'm not mistaken, with this collection kit. There's 4x4, There is a 3x4, and then there's one page that has just kind of random sizes, and I think I've cut all of them up. So the one with the random sizes has a lot of really large ones, which I'm going to actually use for the outside, and these ones are 4x6. So those ones are really nice. And on that same page, there's some really small 2x2, I think, at the bottom. There's a few of them lengthwise at the bottom. So those are really nice. So we're going to do 2 waterfalls. We've got one for the left and one for the right. And I think I'm going to center both of these. You can place them wherever you'd like. If you wanted them a little bit higher, then you could certainly have a little note here. You know, the more I think about it, I think I'm going to put them up at the top, and then I'm going to reach for probably one of those, or a couple of the little journaling cards that I was just talking about, or some ephemera. I will decide that later. So for these, I've got a base that is going to go down first, and then each one of these 4 pieces of the waterfall, and each side is done exactly the same. So they're both mirrored parts of that. Just want to make sure everything is in frame. So the first thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to put down this piece of cardstock. I am going to reach for my 1/4 inch score tape and just go around it really quickly. I tried as much as possible to have things at the ready so that we didn't have to do a whole lot of, you know, scoring and that kind of thing. Like I said, that's all going to be in the description below. I have a detailed list of everything that was used, all the tools, all the paper, the sizes, where to score. And since the video goes along with it, hopefully you're able to follow that. If you do have any comments or questions, feel free to post. I do make every effort to get back just as quickly as possible. I do love hearing back. Any feedback is good. So let's finish with that. And we're going to go back in with our glue just around, and then we can put it down and get to waterfalling. I don't know if that's actually a word, but it is today. All right, so I'm putting this towards the top, making sure that it's centered, placing it down. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. There we go. I'm going to go over with our bone folder again, laying down our bone folder. We're not looking to burnish anything. We're just wanting to get that nice and set as much as possible. And then we're going to start, the very top one is going to be the obviously the top one that you put down is going to be the one that you're going to see. So they're going to lay somewhat like that, with maybe a little bit less. So what I've done for each one of these is I took the journaling cards. For the darker ones, I did mat it with white, and I put white cardstock on the back, again inked up the edges, and I just put this little detail at the top just to finish it off. And it really does give it a very finished look. So the dark ones, like I said, I've matted it with the white. The white cards I just felt didn't need the extra matting, so I didn't put that. And then the one with the beige I did. Everything is got the white on the back as well, and you can use that for journaling. You can use that for pictures, would be absolutely beautiful. I'm getting out my 1/2 inch, and this way I can just run one strip all the way across, because this piece, this flap here for the waterfall is 3/4 of an inch. So I gave myself a little bit of extra space. If it was 1 inch, or sorry, if it was a 1/2 inch, you could easily use 3/8 tape. That would work well. So I'm just going to go all the way around with a line down the middle. And again, I'm going to move this a little bit closer to me, so I'm probably going to stand up too, so I can get this all nice and lined up. So we want to line that up right with the top. We are going to make sure that everything is lined up. Our sides are nicely lined up. Our top is lined up. Everything looks great. Perfect. Now this is handmade, right? So as much as we do our best, try not to stress about the little things. Believe me, once everything is completed, it's not like anybody is going to notice the small things. I feel like crafters can be sometimes our worst critics. That, you know, you notice the mistakes and things like that. Nobody else will. All right. So we put down our... So all we're going to do then is we continue going down this as we apply these one by one, and the idea is you're butting up. The next one is going to butt up right underneath the first one that we did. Whew. The dark blue is definitely a challenge to see. All right, there we go. We've got that nicely placed. Oops, a little bit of glue, that's okay. Perfect. And then we're going to continue on down the line. And then the second waterfall over on the right hand side will be done the exact same way. So we've got two lovely waterfalls. I feel like they would be really nice with some pictures on the inside flaps. And it just it takes your photo albums to the next level where it's totally interactive and just it incorporates, you know, certainly your creativity as well. There we go. Again, making sure everything is lined up. Flip that over. Ooh, getting better with my gluing. Getting better. Hey. Hopefully everybody is enjoying this Saturday or whatever day it is that you are enjoying this video. Alrighty. Okay, so this one didn't do a very good job of applying the tape, but that's okay. And we are going to apply our glue. And again, stand and place. Just so you get a better vantage point. It's a little bit more challenging, I guess, when you're doing a folio, because it's not like a card where you can actually lift it up. And so just make sure that you have enough space to work in. And isn't that beautiful? Like, seriously, I can't get enough of these waterfalls. They're absolutely stunning. I just feel like they're totally interactive, and they are just like a wow factor to whatever it is that you're doing. And then I've cut out a little bit of white cardstock to go on the inside. And that is just, again, for another picture. You can put your stickers, ephemera, you can stamp, whatever your heart's desire is what you can do. Another picture, if I didn't already mention that, which I probably did, because focusing on two things today is really not working out for me. There we go. Here we have our beautiful waterfall. So that is one side. I'm going to continue on doing the next side, and I will be back with you in just a second. So there we have it. We've got our two waterfalls on either side, looking absolutely stunning. Can go over and you know, burnish these a little bit more. Excuse me. with your bone folder just to make sure that they're laying a little bit flat. They've been manipulated and so getting them to lay flat requires maybe sometimes a little bit more encouragement from you. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to be doing, this will be going down in the middle. However, I have these pages that I haven't yet glued, and the reason for that is there's a very specific way that I wanted these to go. So I'm going to just set aside the design paper for right now and pull out all of my bases. There. There we go. So how these are going to work is the little flap is actually going to tuck underneath the base page. And so this way it looks like it's all part of your main folio. So actually I had that one the wrong way. So how this is going to work is we are going to be adhering these to this sheet first. So first you gotta okay. So how this is going to work is the biggest one is going to go to the bottom. Then the second biggest is going to adhere. So the first biggest is on the left. Second largest is going to be on the right. And then we're going to come in and we're going to add 2 more. So we actually have 4 pieces in total. And each one of these will open. I've got designer paper that we're going to be decorating for the front. We're going to include some magnets, which is extremely exciting. And then the magnets will just keep everything kind of in place. And you could easily use magnets basically anywhere there's a closure. I could have used them here. In fact, I think I had thought about that for a minute. And then when I started gluing the tops on, I completely abandoned that idea. So it's basically going to look like this. You've got, you know, a cascading effect on the top and the bottom. And I'm sure it's going to absolutely look fabulous. So we're going to start with the largest one. Excuse me. And that's just a half inch. It's been scored at a half inch. So we're going to go along like that. And then we are going to, I'm just going to straighten that out a little bit because I want to be able to, pushing that up forward because I do not want to get any excess glue on my folio. Just make sure that that is all lined up, and we place that down, making sure that that's all pushed in nice and neatly. Come back to the back side and we get that stuck as much as possible. There we go. So that looks good. Great. Now we're going to flip to the other side where we're going to put our next largest piece, and we're going to repeat that. So we are going to open that up. We are going to come back, give it some glue, and we are going to place that again in the middle as best we can. Get that folded over to make sure that we've got our placement nice. Perfect. Alrighty. And then we're going to go across with our bone folder, make sure that everything is nicely glued down. So now we've got 2 of our sheets. So you see how it's coming together. It's kind of like a little mini book on the inside. Then our next piece is going to be, again, on the left-hand side. So we're going to open that up. Kind of like, yeah, like a little mini booklet. Okay, so now I just want to make sure I'm gluing this correctly. Okay, so that goes on this side. we're gonna get that in the middle as best we can. Fold that in. Perfect. Flip that over. We're gonna go over that again. And now we're on our last one. Our last one. Then we get to decorate it, and we'll be using some wonderful magnets. And if you've never used magnets before, again, it was kind of like a scary thing. I think when I went to first use magnets, you do really have to think about the placement of your magnets. Let me just make sure, yes, that I'm gluing this on the right side. Okay. That needs to move up just a tad. Oops. Didn't mean to take that completely off. Perfect. Okay. Make sure that that's nice, stuck down on the back. Doesn't really matter what the back looks like. Again, whoops. Make sure that our angels are facing up no matter what. So let's get all of these open, because once we stick that down, we definitely want to have the angels going the right way on the base. That would be problematic and just something I wouldn't really know how to fix. So we're going to make double sure. So now that everything is done here, we can go ahead and adhere that. Just trying to think here. I think that all the magnets will be on the pages themselves, and that will hold everything in place. So we can go ahead. We're going to use some more of our score tape. I'm going to grab the 1/2 inch to go all the way around. Do a little strip on the middle, because again, this is holding some pretty serious weight when it comes to adhesives. So better safe than sorry is my motto with this one. And adding, having this extra insurance that your paper is not going to go anywhere. Like it will last a very long time. And that's the whole idea behind putting in all the effort and time to give somebody a gift. You definitely want to make sure that it's going to be lasting a while. So they have years to enjoy your wonderful keepsake. Okay. Oh, for a second there, I was wondering where the blue came from. Ay, how quickly we forget. Okay. And the last one is there. I was going to get it sooner or later. We're going to go across all of our score tape with our glue. Right down the middle. And then we can place this bad boy down, making sure again that we're doing it with the angels facing the right way. There we go. Okay. Sorry, gotta stand again to make sure we've got this in position. Perfect. Oh, it's coming together. It is coming together. How exciting is that? Absolutely love how this is coming together. And so this is going to flip, flap, fold. I don't know what you want to call it. I don't necessarily have a word for it because I just kind of came up with it on the fly, but I just love how that looks. And with the designer paper that's going on top, it's going to look fabulous. Okay, so we're going to start with the bottom two. So in order to add your magnets, here is where you want to make whatever decisions vis-a-vis your magnets, because we don't have our designer paper down, we don't have anything down, and that's the time to put it in. So if you want to put in your magnets, if you were using magnets and you wanted to use them, now is where we kind of figure out how to put them on or where we're going to put them. And what I'm going to do then is our designer paper is what is going to be covering up our magnets. So I think for this one, I'm going to put one over here. There's going to be one on top. And then we are going to put, for these two, I'm going to put one over here and again, one on top. And then everything is going to be held together nice and snug. So I've got one magnet down on the bottom and I've separated another magnet. So that's going to go there. You just let it fall where it wants to, and that way you know exactly where your magnet's going to go because it is wanting to meet up with its match. So for this purpose, we are going to, actually I'm going to move that in just a bit. I don't want it right at the end, and that was just a little bit too close for me. So I'm going to go ahead and take a little piece of my scor tape, and this is going to adhere the magnet to this side of the paper, because right now I've got both sides are attached. So you can see one's there, they're both attached to the same piece of paper. Okay, so when you fold that down, you can just press and it will be adhered. And I'm going to do the exact same thing to this magnet. Looking for my scor tape as I was. And we're going to cut off a little bit. Apply it to this side of the magnet. Peel off your scor tape. And there we go. So now we've got our magnets down for our two base sheets. So I'm going to pull out the two designer pieces. I've chosen this beautiful designer paper that's got Mary, Joseph, and Jesus with all the manger animals kind of surrounding them. Just looks very beautiful. So I'm going to open that. This is where our designer paper is going to go. And again, see, it covers the magnet. So unless you're actually, you know, pushing on it, you're not going to know that it's there. So we're going to go back with our glue, glue that on really quickly, making sure that I've got there enough on all sides. Oh, okay, there we go. All right, perfect. So I'll lay this down like so. See, magnet is disguised. Nobody would know that it's there except for you. And that clicking sound sometimes that you can get with magnets, which is ever so satisfying. And then we're going to use this lovely silhouette paper with the different scenes with the wise men, the manger, all those kind of beautiful scenes that we know to be part of this paper pack, and just beautiful. Alrighty. And so that's going to lay right on top of there. Again, disguising our magnets. Perfect. Sometimes you will have to go over or go around the magnet and just make sure that the page, again, it's no different than when we were doing the sides of the folio, is you're just kind of, you know, massaging the paper to make sure that it's laying flat. So there we go. We've got our two first sheets. We're going to duplicate that again with these two. And then I'm also going to put something on the inside so that you could use it, again, journaling or photos. You could also stamp and stuff like that too. That would be equally as beautiful. Okay, so for this one, we're going to put them on this side. And I'm going to separate a magnet to go right there and a magnet to go on the top. You just drop it, and that way it just kind of goes where it needs to go. Okay, so our score tape, we're going to need some of that again. I'm just going to cut off a little bit, 2 little bits. Okay, so for this one, oops. All right, and then for our other piece. Okay, so I've got the score tape on the magnet. I'm going to put that right there. Again, it doesn't really have to look pretty because, whoops, make sure that you've got the right side. If you don't have the right side, the magnet's obviously going to go flying off the page. You don't want them to repel each other. You want them to, you know, love each other, and make sure that you've got the right side stuck down rather. Okay, so I can feel it right there. Perfect. And then we're going to do the exact same thing. On this side, I've got a lovely, we've got the manger again, and we're going to go over that with some glue. There, just need a little bit of a wipe down because it was getting all kind of bogged up. There we go. And flip that over. Place it down, covering our magnet. A lot of beautiful paper going on here. And then the last sheet, which is going to be our cover sheet. And it is stunning. I also like this brown. It seemed like a weird choice to have. And then when I started putting together the folio and the designer paper, you do often need to have like a nice tone on tone to kind of break up all the pattern. And that is just like, it's the one sheet that out of everything isn't like blue, but it so adds just that little bit of contrast. And there we have it. We have our little booklety, foldy, flappy thing going on in the middle. And so here's what I've done for the insides is I've cut out white cardstock. Again, I've inked the edges. I'm going to apply all of these down first. And so sorry, I've got the hiccups again. I will come back in just a second once I have everything done. Okay, so there we have it. We've got our centerpiece is now done. Our masterpiece, or pièce de résistance, is done in the middle, and this is how it looks. So for the first two, I left the white sheets. I did them the same size as the designer paper on the outside, but for the next two, it seemed like it was going to be a lot of white, and so I broke them up into 2 pieces. And you can do either or, like either way totally works. It's really up to you. And you can certainly put something down the middle. I love having the angels visible, so I think I'm going to leave that just as is. And there we go. Now, because we've obviously got a few different pieces of cardstock that this is going through. The magnets are still working. They're doing their magic. They just don't get that satisfying click. That's the only thing. So there's the inside of our folio. beautiful. And that's how it folds up nice and neatly. And then for the outside, I have a couple of different things that we're going to be doing for the outside. So I'm going to just try to think of the best way to lay this out, but I'm going to fold this outwards like this. So now we're kind of working in reverse. So whichever works best for you is totally fine. I'm going to grab some of these pieces. Those are for the outside. And I've done basically something very similar that I did on the inside. Is I've cut these two pieces because our front cover is going to be a little bit different. We really want that to stand out, but I cut this beautiful paper with this. I'm not sure what that white flower is, but the white flower with the berries. And then this is the 3x4 journaling cards. And then similar to what I did on the inside, which for the spine, where we use the beige and the white, I've got this beautiful green, which really sets off the green in the floral. So I'm just going to glue these down really quickly. Excellent. So that is going to be our back 2 pages. And then I've used the same fabric, we use the same paper, and I've cut out a little band to go at the bottom, as well as Come Let Us Adore Him for the front. So we are going to glue all of these pages together, or pieces of cardstock together, designer paper. And we are like really in the home stretch right now. So we've just got the decorating really to do of this front page. I've got a little something for the very back, and then a pocket that I wanted to show you that is going to go on the first flap. So there's a lot of interaction in terms of this folio, which is sometimes like the fun of making your own, is you make it your own. Like if you love waterfalls, every single flap could have a waterfall. If you like pockets and it's going to be more of a journaling folio, then absolutely put pockets everywhere. Make those journaling cards. What I've done before in the past with one of a friend's folio is I did it with, I put some index cards. I cut up some index cards and put it on the opposite side, or the back side of the journaling cards. Whoops. Got some glue out there. That's okay. That will dry. Where did my cards go? Okay, so like an index card like this, if you wanted to put that on the back side of one of the journaling cards, which is like this, then you would have, I don't know about you, but personally, I need some lines if I'm going to write something. Otherwise, I go upwards, downwards. It is a hot mess. So I did that for a friend, and I really like the idea, and I think she did too. So we're going to set those aside. This is the last one that we're putting on the outside. It's another beautiful, one of the beautiful 4x6 journaling cards that comes in this kit. Just beautiful. There's so many options with this particular paper pack. I mean, there's options with every paper pack. You get some beautiful designer paper, a lot of, tone on tones that go with everything else that's in the kit, which is fantastic. It just makes life a little bit easier. So we're going to apply our glue all the way around. And then this, for this page, I am going to go right in the middle. Well, as much in the middle as I possibly can get it. There we go. So that is our outside. So then the only other page that I wanted to, or not page necessarily, but the only other panel that I wanted to decorate was this one. And what I decided to do for this one is just make 2 quick little pockets. And this way we can put these journaling cards in there. I didn't put the lined paper on the back because then you could use them for photos if you wanted to. And I cut out some of this beautiful silhouette paper that came in that same, in the Silent Night paper pack. And I've made these pockets, and even with the pockets I inked up the edges just to give it that little bit of extra interest. So what you're going to do for the pockets, everything will be again listed down below in the description, but what you do is very similar to how you're wrapping your folio to begin with. You cut the after you've scored, you're going to take at each side, only this time you don't leave 1/8 of an inch, is like just kiss the tip of the corner. And then as you fold it in, we're going to add glue to each one of these sides. Actually, I'm going to add some score tape to that as well. They're 1/4 of an inch. No, you know what? I'm just going to do glue. We're doing it. All right, so we're going to add some glue to each one of these sides. And then we're going to glue that, fold it and glue it. It's a bit of a messy proposition, this one, because you do want to get that all folded in and then adhered. So we are going to put that at the bottom. So we get the sides down. Let me get it. Kind of tuck that in underneath. Sometimes needs a little wee bit of encouragement. So there we go. And then we're gonna just push that down. Try to keep our gluey fingers off the paper. There we go. And so this way, you put we'll adhere that to the outside, and then you've got some journaling cards that can go inside. Really nice little pocket idea that I wanted to share with you. And this way, if you want to try it, you can. Most certainly, there's no harm in leaving this page or this panel empty. You can leave it, you know, with a beautiful paper and decorate it with the ephemera if you want, cutouts, that kind of thing. So I've got the other pocket is right here. So like I said before, you just want to kiss the corner when you cut off. Sorry, there's another train. Doesn't matter what day, what time, there is always a train to be passing by. So what you're trying to avoid is having this really sharp corner, just like when we were putting together our folio. So if you need to fold something in, then you've got a nice corner without being like super pointy or super sharp. And then I'm just going to go over that because I definitely want to make sure that I don't forget. And we're just going to go over that really gently with our ink up the corners, and we're going to ink up the top. It's super subtle, but I find for this particular folio is the perfect go-to because it just adds without being kind of in your face. So then we're going to do the same thing here. Add our glue each side, and there we go. And for the top one, we definitely want to make sure that we are not going so high that the journaling cards stick out the top, so just be mindful of that. And so with that being the case, I am going to put it down almost right on top of the bottom journaling cards. Oh, that flap is giving me some trouble. There we go. There we go. I'm keeping these two fingers up because I thought there was glue on them, but apparently not. Alrighty, so there we go with our second panel. Whoops. Make sure there's no glue on the top, and then we're going to decorate that with another one of the silhouettes. It's absolutely beautiful paper. I think I've said that a number of times. It's fabulous. Absolutely love it. I will definitely be giving some thought. I think this is going to turn out to be a Christmas present for somebody that I like. Perfect. And there we go. We have our Trifold Folio that is decorated with this stunning paper from Echo Park called Silent Night. So once again, we have our front, opens up. We've got our flip flap insides, our waterfalls going on either side. Just stunning. So I want to thank you so much for joining me on this folio journey today. Really appreciate it. If you like this video, please give it a huge thumbs up. If you like it even more and you don't want to miss any of these future videos, folios, cards, albums, do make sure that you subscribe. If you have any comments, make a comment. I'll definitely be sure to get back to you if you have any questions. Other than that, I hope you have a wonderful day. Stay safe, stay well. Look forward to seeing you again another time. Thank you so much. Bye.